So as always, I'm going to start this video off with the daily quote. So this one today says, "The best way to make your dreams come true is to wake up," said by Muhammad Ali. I personally think that's a really good quote because it just exemplifies how important it is to have dreams and also how important life is and how precious life is. So today I'm going to be talking about psychology and why I got into psychology. Psychology is, as most of you know probably, the study of human behavior and the human mind. That's kind of like a broad definition, and then there's different subfields of psychology that are very interesting, and everyone that studies psychology kind of finds their own niche within the field. I can't really tell you when I decided to study psychology. I said like in my last video that I decided kind of on a whim, but ever since I was a kid, I've always been super fascinated by people's minds and behaviors and the things that individuals can do. I wanted to be like a criminologist because I was especially interested in serial killers. I was interested to know what was the pathology behind their behavior and everything like that, so that's what I was initially going to study. And then like I wanted to be maybe a prison psychologist after I realized how much of an empath I was, that I wanted to keep things like in kind of more positive energy. I first realized that I wanted to study psychology when I was in high school, but I realized my empathy was really like affecting my behavior and how I treat other people, and mostly like how I didn't nurture myself because of my empathy kind of taking over. So I was really interested in studying like why feelings are a thing and why we feel so connected to other people and how overwhelming feelings can get with other people. Also, I have the tendency to overanalyze my feelings, so that's probably why I like to find answers for a lot of things that are going on with myself, and I'll go to desperate measures to find those answers. I realized also upon going to therapy when I was in 8th grade that I wanted to study psychology because there's like, it's, for me, psychology is the foundation of everything. It's the foundation of human like behavior, drives. Personally, I think psychoanalysis is really interesting in that it studies unconscious drives and things to that effect. I'm also super interested in humanistic psychology because that's so positive and it kind of ties in how different things around us have influenced us to be the way that we are and how we can heal our way out of those, which I find super valuable. So that's kind of like my reason for studying psychology. To sum it all up, people are really fascinating, super multifaceted. I just think that there's so much in the field of psychology to learn, and it's just never going to go away. There's always going to be hope in that field, in my personal opinion. Why depth psychology? So for those of you that don't know what depth psychology is, or transpersonal psychology, it is essentially the combination, and this is in my terms, so it's essentially the combination of psychoanalysis and humanistic psychology into one. So essentially depth psychology, it ties in all of our unconscious drives, things that definitely do influence our mind and behavior. So things such as mythology, spirituality, art, literature, music, things to that effect. So it's a very holistic form of psychology, as I like to say, and it's very much rooted in dreams, archetypes, and just the unconscious. I stumbled upon this subfield of psychology around this time last year. So I was determined to graduate from undergraduate early, and I was determined to move on to something that involved the psychology subfield that I was interested in, and I didn't know what the term was for that, but I knew that I wanted to bridge spirituality and psychology together. I had this epiphany that was like, wow, spirituality and psychology really do go hand in hand, and there's something missing. Like the kind of regularized or normalized fields of psychology are missing this aspect of spirituality, which is essential to get a whole holistic picture of an individual. So that's kind of why I got into that. And I was researching, I was looking online for graduate institutes that had spiritual psychology as like a PhD, a PsyD, or like a master's in counseling or something like that. And I realized that it was then called transpersonal psychology or depth psychology. And from that point on, I was like, this is it. This is what I need to do with my life. Something about it felt extremely right for me. I had kind of like a spiritual, deep-rooted intuition that was saying to me, like, this is what you need to do. So with that said, I started to look into institutions that did have depth psychology programs, and there are very far and few in the US. So there are about 5 that I can name, 4 or 5 that I can name off the top of my head. So there's Pacifica Graduate Institute, Naropa University, Saybrook University, the California Institute of Integral Studies, and that's pretty much all I can name. So those 4 institutes I looked into, and the one that I ultimately am going with as of right now is Pacifica Graduate Institute. And if you can't tell, a lot of these do tend to be out in California or out towards like the west. So I'm hoping to maybe bridge the east and the west by bringing my knowledge back to the east at some point in the future, potentially. I don't like the weather here, so the fact that a lot of them are in California is definitely a plus on my personal scale. So that's essentially why I am interested in psychology, and more specifically depth psychology. If depth psychology is something that you're interested in, I encourage you to keep watching these videos, because a lot of them will be rooted in values of depth psychology. So as I said before, it's a very holistic form of psychology, and I'm sure that anyone watching this, even if you aren't interested in depth psychology, will be able to relate on some sort of level, because it is so holistic and it touches on so many different aspects of individuals. My sweetie. But yeah, so that's all I have for you today, and I appreciate you watching my video as always. Subscribe to me if you haven't already. I will be posting new content every week, and yeah, thank you for watching.